Yeah. And then I will start going live. Okay. And I will tell you when it's already live, so you can share it from there.
So it goes onto your page, right?
Go first to my personal profile and then to my page. You will see it in both. So. Okay. So. Okay, so it is already on my personal page, and now you should be able to see it on my warriors page. Check if you can see it, and you can share in your timeline, like in your newsfeed, or you can also share as a story, whatever you prefer, whatever you think is best.
Okay, this is shared, and I can do both actually. Okay.
Wonderful. So there we are.
I'll just try to, I'm going to share on the page also. Okay.
Wonderful. So thank you for coming in today. Very, very, very curious of how this exploration in a field of interview will take us and where it will take us. So just to start from the easiest parts, the first question that I always do when I interview an entrepreneur is like one that seems very easy, but it's not so easy sometimes. It's like, who is Virginie right now? Who is this person I have in front of me?
This is where most of the people can hate you for that, but no, I think it's a very interesting question. And it's funny because my daughter had an assignment a couple of months ago about that at school. And she was like, what shall I write? And I told her, you are, just write, I am. So that was an interesting thing. So, but I guess I am many things at different times. So I can be this person and in this action at one point. Being Virginie in, well, it's very hard to answer that question, but yeah, multidimensional being, you know, that's for sure. So I guess, yeah, it's just, I'm having a great experience on Earth, you know, embodying this body here, and sometimes struggling on this planet, and sometimes having a blast. So it's, yeah.
So that's what is present for me.
I don't want to go into what I do because it's very different, and who I am, it's really someone that I'm discovering day after day who I am, because with the work that I do actually helps me to discover who I am. So for the last 10 years, since I opened my channel after my accident and everything, I had a near-death experience. So after that, I started, you know, removing the layers of the onions of the ego, of the mind, the toxic mind, toxic thoughts, toxic patterns. And the more I remove those layers, the more I am and the more I can actually exist with my true self.
I can totally imagine that. What I love about this question is that every time is different. Like if I ask tomorrow, it will be different. And I think that's the beauty of it, practically. But take me there. So like 10 years ago, take me to the Virginie before, the Virginie after. I know that there was a very, very, very deep and like a big experience that actually allowed you to change. Not everybody's having such a strong experience that's allowed them to tap into their spiritual path. But it's always like, it's always interesting to see how much that has shifted our reality.
Well, I guess, you know, the upbringing I had was all those beliefs, and that I have to do this, I have to be like that, I had to be the perfect girl, I have to be the perfect daughter, the perfect teenager, the perfect then wife and perfect mom. And so I was sending all this perfect Christmas card every year, and it was, you know, like happily ever after, you know, after watching so many Disney movies, when my big belief was you're going to meet your Prince Charming, you're going to marry, have children, and live happily ever after. because I just so wanted to escape my family because it was a little toxic in a way. But it was full of illusion and protocols and stuff. So it was not something that I felt really I was belonging in. So, and then I moved to London when I was 22, started working in finance over there. I met my husband over there, now ex-husband. And we moved afterwards to Hong Kong. I had my 2 children in London. And then moving back to Paris in 2009, 2 years later, I mean, during those 2 years before 2011, I started to having like very vivid dream where, you know, things were falling apart and walls crumbling, my wardrobe was falling apart, you know, falling everywhere, losing my work phone, all those kind of things. But I refused to see the signs because I felt so not belonging on earth. I could not find my position on earth. So it was very tricky. So I was trying to belong to groups to, you know, it was very unconscious at that time that, and even though I was seeing many things, hearing many things, I was trying to block as much as possible everything that I was hearing and seeing. Because I've been a clairvoyant and clairaudient since I was very little, but it was kind of forbidden in our society, or at least in our families and, you know, social community. And as the universe is really enjoying having fun with us, and he's very good at showing us lessons, and if we don't learn the lesson, he's putting another lesson and another lesson and another lesson. And because I didn't want to see the signs, I could see myself again there at that time in 2009, 2010, and even before, was just not seeing the signs. Like, yeah, I see the signs, but who cares? So it was really the battle of, okay, I've got my high self talking to me. Now I can express it that way, but my high self talking to me, and my ego was like, I don't give a shit about you, you know, just like. So that was the thing. And then going out of work, and I was on the trading floor at that time. I was a broker on inflation derivatives, and going out of work, crossing the road to go and get my car in the car park. And I got hit by a car and I flew 15 meters. So I really did Angry Bird. So I had this near-death experience where I got out of my body. I felt my children here, and I felt well, of course I saw the corridor and the light and everything, all those kind of things, but I felt something strong. And I saw myself coming down, you know, on the floor, but on a slow motion, you know, opening up like a flowers that is kind of opening. And I thought I was dead when I woke up, but I really thought that I was dead. And I was actually not dead at all because I had nothing, not a single broken bone, nothing. But I had that experience. So at midnight, I was back home. On a side note, my butt did hurt a little bit. And after that, I was very much alone at home because it was school holidays, so the children were away, and it was the time that I was doing my GIA on the diamonds. So I was meant to go to New York for my diamonds lab, and a lot of things were happening. So all of that were connected with the energy of the stones, because I had started my GIA a couple of months ago, and it was very interesting to go from a place where I'm surrounded by people, by the full activity nonstop, to being by myself. Something that I was not used to, because it was always like, you need to have a goal, you need to have a purpose, you need to do, you know, you have to, what are you doing? Nothing. No, you have to do something, you know, all those things that, you know, you are brainwashed by the society. But I've never been taught to trust myself. I've never been taught to slow down or to those kind of things. I didn't know what it was. So the universe kind of placed it for me. And then it was a very strange mixed feeling on things that changed for me about the way that I was eating, even the way that I was, my connection with time. I had a different approach with, you know, to time. So the old timeline things started to shift. Then watching myself in the mirror, I was like, okay, this is not me, or this is not well, the person that I know. So it really felt that I was getting out, this accident helped me opening the door of this massive safe. But when you're in a safe, you're not really safe because it's really boring and you're alone and, you have all those kind of things. And it's really like suddenly the door had opened and it was a all new word that I was discovering, and even my own inner word that I was starting to discover. And then I went into this journey of many things and many experiences. And 4 years ago, a friend of mine told me that he had an amazing job offer. And I was like, yeah, I'm sorry, but I don't see that you thrive this offer, that it's just, and we spoke for an hour and a half. And after an hour and a half call, he was like, have you ever thought of becoming a coach? Because what you're saying, the question you're asking and everything is just so spot on. So, and he didn't take the position and he took it 2 years later, but he was ready 2 years later. So that's the whole story. So, and then I went to my, some people that coached me, and I started doing a massive work on myself, massive inner work, the shadow work, as we call it, really going to deep dive into my shadow work. That was very painful, very enlightening, very lonely, extremely lonely. And then I started to give a coaching session because I really wanted to do this work on me, because if I was not doing the work, I would be affected by my own wounds while giving coaching session. So I will not be able to guide the person properly.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I think that it's always a very interesting transition from one world to the other, and it's almost never really, I mean, for some people has been smooth, but not for many, myself included. I was one of those that was not very smooth, the transitions. I can totally feel you into this complete change of identity and how you see yourself, how you see the world, how the world sees you, and everything in between. So after you have crossed this threshold, let's say, and you have gone into defining yourself and working with coaching and as a coach, how has it been like since then? So like this new identity, what has brought to your life?
A lot of freedom. First, it allowed me to get out of a lot of judgment, a lot of guilt, a lot of anger. So a lot of peace and some bliss in finding the love within myself, finding trust within myself and into the all. That's just like, how I connect with the people, how I connect with my children. Just that, most of the parents are having a nightmare with a teenager. I'm just having a blast with my teenager. I'm having so much fun with them. And because we allow space also, we get into those discussions, we can hold space to one another. We can say, okay, this is not a good time, but let me come back to you. On when one is angry, because teenagers get angry quite often, it's like, okay, well, whenever you're ready. But by holding space or just, stepping back and allowing them to be angry, to go through their deep emotion, then maybe quite often we don't even speak about it afterwards, because there's no need, because they were allowed to go by themselves to shift what was behind the emotion. They know I'm here, but I don't judge. And the motto of the house, and that I do with my friend, is free speech, no judgment. And that changes everything. I guess it's, that was a big, the no judgment. And I've been receiving messages, guidance that November and October will be a lot about judgment topic, through the different coaching session and through the collective, because we are judging ourselves nonstop. This is just crazy. I've been observing that for like 3-4 weeks, how much we judge, all of us, me including. Sometimes I don't even realize, because it's so on an autopilot kind of thing. So yeah.
That's really interesting, and we can definitely like dive deeper into that. That's really, really interesting. Yeah, how, like, what is the difference between resonance and judgment? I have to, if we start talking about like these terms, because sometimes there's many things hidden behind beautiful words in the world that we are both navigating. And it's interesting to see how we start uncovering this aspects.
If I don't have the answer myself, but if I channel, it's what they're going to say. I don't know if there's something that resonance is more about you, the energy that is the unconscious energy that will be sent away, that will be sent out from yourself. And the judgment is more your ego. The resonance would be your true self, and the judgment is your ego.
That's interesting. Yeah, totally. So, okay, you just did something that for many people is not something they will understand about. So tell me what you did here.
Okay.
What is channeling for you?
So what is channeling? Channeling is, some people say psychic or whatever, they're all sort of different terms. But we all have our inner voice that we can hear, but we don't know whether it's our intuition or our ego. That's one thing. So we can hear our inner voice. Our inner voice itself, I would say, because I'm answering the question while I'm channeling, actually, it could be the higher self, which is really our essence, our soul talking. So our soul that is not affected, or at least mostly not affected by the ego. But we can also channel guides, angels, or divinity. Like when I started channeling, being conscious about my channeling, because that's also there's also the things to be conscious that you channel. Everybody's channeling, everybody. But it's just to learn to make the difference. What do I channel? Who do I channel? You don't need to put a name on who you channel, but you need to know whether it's someone that, guide or angel or divinity that is pure. Because if you channel an entity, then you give a wrong message. So you always have to check, whether the message you receive is correct. And when we do that in group, it's very easy, but I'll tell you more about it. So channeling is really, for example, when I channel Ganesh, Kuan Yin, or Gaia, quite often they tell me that they are, and I channel them more when I do group session. At the end of the session, they tend to come and give me a message for the group, or sometimes for individuals in the group. So that happens also when I do one-on-one session, but mainly it's, and then I don't get attached to the guide. Some people are really looking for the guide or for their, who's the channel and everything. I don't get attached to that. I just feel whether, okay, the message seems like, and my body is telling me whether the message is correct or not. And I can feel now with the practice, if I get affected by something, okay, I'm tapping on something, but my mind is kind of, blurring the message. Okay, I'm tapping on something. I breathe, I center myself again. I connect completely with my higher self. And then, okay, let's start again. Okay, what is behind? Why am I affected? Do I have a resistance to channel this? It's just so
that can happen also.
So it's very cool, because you never know what's going to happen, and you learn every day. So sometimes, like, oh my God, having a conversation, like, oh, this is cool. I had no idea about that.
I can imagine that, and that's actually the fun part. It's a field, and you never know what's going to give you exactly. What's coming up, like to ask you, is that you're naming your baby, which is not a human baby, it's a project baby. You're naming it like a wish link. And how much of, like, how do you see a connection between a wish that we might have and what our guides are trying to tell us, practically, to communicate through us?
Well, if we go to the quantum field, everything is connected. So even to create your reality, we know we can create our reality through our thought, through different things. If I don't connect within myself, just this, I cannot create my reality. Creating my reality would be a wish. Okay, let's put it this way. But if I don't connect with myself, if I don't connect with a thought, if I don't connect with the awareness, I won't be able to create. So this is like in a micro situation. But if I want to create, my wish is to go just on holiday. Okay, I want to go on holiday with some friends. I will connect with the friends. I will connect with a hotel or renting a house or just doing backpack, looking at the trail, whatever. I need to connect. So that's why to create a wish, you have to connect at one point or another.
And one question that might be quite tricky for some people: how do you know if the wish is coming from your higher self or from your ego? Because I feel that that's where we tremble so many things, and we just get involved into situations that we might not of our best interest or of where we could be.
That's a very good question, and thank you for asking that, because it's true. A lot of people are struggling with that. First, it takes practice. The problem is same thing. We haven't been taught to trust ourselves. When I say we haven't been taught to trust ourselves, it's trusting our intuition. So there's being aware of our wounds, our pain, beliefs, and patterns will allow them to shift, and being aware that, okay, I hear that. Okay, what is it? And just asking the universe. The universe is providing. Okay, when you want something, he's providing. When it's good for your path, he's providing. So if you need to have a shitty day because you need to learn a lesson, the universe is going to provide you with a shitty day. So that's the thing, so that's quite often it's kind of confusing for some people into that path, on that path, into that path. Okay, whatever. So it's allowing, the body will tell you quite often. If you receive a message, but your body is kind of, closing, most of the time the message comes from the ego. If you start having a blockage on your solar plexus or on your throat, or having a headache, if you have a headache, quite often it's because you resist. So you have an inner voice that came, your intuition that came. You have a headache. Quite often it's because you have a resistance. You might have to be careful about that inner voice, because there's something blocking. If you hear your inner voice and there's a sting, quite often it's a good inner voice. This kind of, it's just learning to read the signs. The universe is like the most beautiful encyclopedia that we've ever seen. Everything is written, everything is there. So it's just a matter of learning how to read them.
I love that explanation. Yeah.
When you spontaneous, also most of the time it's your inner self. If you start thinking, doubting, wondering, should I do this? Should I do that? Okay, you can just, okay, I'm not ready to make the choice. And you ask the universe, okay, what shall I do? If it's whenever it's in time, it will come.
Yeah, I love that. A friend is describing that as where there is doubt, there is no doubt, meaning it's a no. Like when you start doubting too much, don't even think about it. It's like, it's probably no.
There's a lot of people, and myself included, I had sometime choosing was really hard for me, like so hard. It's so difficult, but to an extent that, like there's a couple of things that I just hate choosing. And it was to make you work onto this pattern of, you have, for example, an Enneagram type. We spoke briefly about the Enneagram off record. That is having such a hard time to choose. And it's quite often because you're not into the now moment. That's what I realized. Because this Enneagram type that having a really hard time to choose, the first thing that I ask them to work on is the now moment, being present. So when I have a doubt, when I'm confused about something, I go into the now moment within myself and I say, okay, whenever it's the right moment for me to choose, let me know. Once again, I ask the universe or my guide or whatever. The universe is including guides, and whoever wants to answer will answer.
I love that. Yeah. Sometimes I like to check, like, if my energy is like vertical, if it's going towards the future or the past. And I think that's what actually you're saying. Like, am I tapping into what I would like to happen in the future, or what is really, really real right now? Because the future is practically an illusion. We don't really know how it's going to be.
Well, we actually, we're actually tapping into vertical timeline right now, and I had an amazing experience last week or 2 weeks ago. I don't know. I'm a bit like weird with time. That I know we can shift into multiple timeline, like when you do quantum jump, and yeah, I was online with someone on my mobile phone, and suddenly I see a missed call on WhatsApp, and I look at my clock. So the missed call is 2010, but the clock on my phone number is 2009.
Yeah, this trick is like, so it's really, really interesting if you start really looking around and seeing.
So it shows that, yeah, it shows that we're actually experiencing multiple timeline without being conscious about it. So it's we're really moving to these 5Ds, and the more we bring some awareness to that, the more we can actually experience this 5D, which is
exactly cool. And I think that's where this feeling of like allowing magic to happen into our lives start coming in, like when we start tapping into non-physical dimensions, meaning from after the third, that start becoming the less physical ones, the more ethereal ones. So as we are slowly going towards the end of our live session, I would like to ask you 2 questions. And you might have already described the first one, but I would just like to phrase it if there's something more that needs to be expressed there. So the first one is like, what do you feel it's the unique gift that Virginie is bringing to the world? And the second is like, what kind of support do you need right now to grow further from where you are?
Okay, the first question, I got it answered last year, because I asked my guide, why am I here and how I can help the people more, because this is my essence, is to help the collective. And they gave me a big assignment. It was really just like by being present and being able to hold space for the people and to listen and to bring some awareness. So, but not bringing awareness by convincing, but bringing awareness by inspiring.
That's really interesting, and a big distinction in our times, mostly.
Very big. So it's more like, okay, so some people, for example, that known me for a long time, yeah, they can see the difference, and that's so it's by guiding, really guiding the people into opening their spiritual journey. Mm-hmm. And the second thing is, what do I need now for growth? It's a difficult question, because I'm based in Paris and in France, and people are what I feel is people are very afraid to connect to their emotion, or to not even just, speak about their emotion, but to connect with them and to go and look what's behind. So that's something that is difficult. So I would love to create retreats. Almost my dream would be to have a place where people can just show up and know they would be in a safe space and they can speak, and have some people that will help them, to transmute and to find their freedom within themselves. So
I love that, and I really feel that it resonates both with Paris and with Zurich, where I am right now. We had exactly that conversation today, actually, of the shields, that when for once you've been asked, what are you good? Are you really good? But without expecting the typical, yes, I'm perfect response, and you're just expecting the real response, and people all of a sudden start breaking down and going deeper into who they are. So I'm really hoping that will come very soon into the field. And of course, I will let you know if something is coming through me on that direction, because that's what I love doing. And that's why I also ask these questions. So before we go for today from Facebook, I just want to see if there's anything else that wants to be expressed from your side.
Well, the message that the message that's coming through for everyone is, allow yourself mistakes and allow yourself to trust yourself. And that's through the mistake you're going to learn. And a child that's going to start walking is going to fall, is going to be hurt. So don't be afraid of being hurt. Don't be afraid of the unknown. And don't be afraid of the impossible, because if it's impossible, it's I am possible. So
I love that. That's really beautiful.
Trust yourself and trust the process.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that message, especially in this time that we are entering, because I feel that we have passed a threshold and entering a new phase. So thank you so much for being with me today. You stay on Zoom. You don't close that call. I would just go off Facebook and continue here. Okay, so I have stopped the live stream. I will send you also when I upload it in YouTube later today, and everything else that you need. And for our second, actually, let me stop this recording.